my favorite fighters that you've managed was Jens Pulver. And in my opinion, him and BJ Penn was a historic fight. The first time that they'd fought, not the second time. What were your thoughts going into that fight? Because Jens was just such a heavy underdog, and people were just really discounting him based on how dominant BJ was in that weight class.
Well, I think this happens quite often. People didn't take into consideration the anger and the determination and everything that Jens had from a horrible upbringing. And Pat Miletich had the same thing. You know, they underestimate him because those guys both were so angry at life and angry at what they'd gone through, with Pat having people, his brother killed, his dad dying early, all that kind of stuff, other brother in prison. He was just an angry person, and he could turn that on in the cage, great. Same thing with Jens. We all know the story. His dad put a shotgun in his mouth, and he was always told he was never going to make it. Well, he just decided early, I'm going to make it. I'm going to be something. And when he got mad, that guy was a little monster, And so he was going through people that, no one thought he would beat Uno. And then, Uno was a superstar then. He was one
exactly.
And then Jens comes over and does not that difficult. And then Hallman was, here's a guy that's beaten, Matt Hughes twice. And Jens hated Hallman because they grew up in Washington together. I think Jens won, I want to say 3 state titles and then in wrestling. And then Hallman came up when Jens left and won 1 or 2, and they just didn't like each other. And, when Jens would get all fired up, he's got a split personality. He's got like 6 guys in that head. And we'd be driving down the road and Hughes is in the passenger side and Jens is in back. And I got the call and said, we had told the UFC, we'll fight anyone. We don't want to fight Hallman because Jen says, I don't want Hallman to get any recognition off of me, even losing to me. I don't want it to happen. So typical UFC, they call and say, hey, we're going to have you fight Hallman. And like, there's no one else in the world. Right. Yeah. And Jens just goes, you could just see just so frustrated. And he's back there and he starts saying, I ain't fighting him. There's no way. They can't make me fight him. He goes, I'll take the belt. I'll throw it in the garbage. Fuck that. I ain't doing it. I don't have to do it. And he goes, but I'll knock him out. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to knock him out and I'm going to spit on him. I'm going to knock him out, but I ain't fighting him. There's no way I'm going to fight him. And Matt and I are looking at each other and Matt starts going, cuckoo, cuckoo. We did a lot of cuckoos for Jens. And Jens just Jens in the back seat, all 4 of them just going at each other, trying to figure out, how it was going to happen.